Picture this. A software engineer in Toronto earns $90,000 and just bought a condo. Meanwhile, 200 kilometers away, a retail worker in Hamilton makes $35,000 and can barely afford groceries. Same province, same year. Two completely different economic realities. And here's what nobody's talking about. This isn't just a housing problem or a wage gap. It's a fundamental split tearing Canada's economy in half. Today, I'm breaking down 7 data points that reveal exactly how deep this divide goes and what it means for your financial future in 2025. Let's start with what's really happening. When economists talk about Canada's economy, they're actually describing two separate economies that barely interact anymore. On one side, you have high-income professionals in tech, finance, and specialized fields experiencing unprecedented wealth accumulation. On the other side, service workers, retail employees, and anyone outside major urban centers are watching their purchasing power collapse in real time. The gap between these two groups isn't just growing, it's accelerating. And the numbers behind this split are more shocking than most Canadians realize. Data point number 1, the income divide has reached historic proportions. In 2024, the top 20% of Canadian earners saw their average income rise to $158,000, a 12% increase from 2019. The bottom 20%? Their average income sits at $22,000, and it's barely moved in 5 years. That means the highest earners now make more than 7 times what the lowest earners make. But here's where it gets worse. When you adjust for inflation and cost of living, those bottom earners have actually lost purchasing power. They're working the same hours or more, but their money buys less food, less housing, less everything. This isn't just inequality. It's two separate economic systems operating in the same country. Data point number 2. Housing has become the ultimate dividing line. If you already own property, especially in Toronto or Vancouver, you've likely gained hundreds of thousands in net worth without doing anything. The average Toronto home price hit $1.1 million in 2024. If you bought 5 years ago at $700,000, you just made $400,000 tax-free through your principal residence. But if you don't own, you're falling further behind every single month. Rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in Toronto now averages $2,800. That's $33,600 per year just for basic shelter. Someone making $35,000 before taxes literally cannot afford to live alone in the city where many entry-level jobs exist. This creates a permanent renter class that can never save enough for a down payment because housing prices rise faster than they can save. It's not a ladder anymore. It's a wall. Before we go further, quick question. Are you currently experiencing this economic divide firsthand? Comment yes if you're feeling the squeeze, or no if you're seeing growth. Your answers help us understand how widespread this really is, and I read every single comment. Data point number 3. Job creation is happening but only in specific sectors and locations. Canada added 320,000 jobs in 2024. Sounds great, right? Here's what they don't tell you. 72% of those jobs were in just 3 sectors: technology, finance, and healthcare, and 81% were concentrated in 5 major urban centers. If you work in retail, hospitality, or manufacturing, or if you live outside Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, Montreal, or Ottawa, the job market has been essentially flat. We're creating a winner-take-all economy where opportunities cluster in fewer and fewer places, forcing everyone else to either relocate to expensive cities or accept stagnant wages. Data point number 4. The cost of living crisis isn't hitting everyone equally. Let's break down what this actually means with real numbers. A family of 4 in Vancouver needs approximately $96,000 per year to maintain a modest middle-class lifestyle. That's after-tax income. Housing, food, transportation, childcare. Nothing fancy, just the basics. But here's the problem. The median household income in Vancouver is $72,000. That's a $24,000 annual gap. How are families covering it? Debt. Canadian household debt hit a record $1.84 owed for every dollar of disposable income in 2024. Meanwhile, high-income households, those making over $150,000, are debt-free or close to it and actively building investment portfolios. One group is drowning in debt just to survive. The other group is accumulating wealth faster than ever. Same city, different planets. Meet Sarah and David. Sarah works in tech consulting in Toronto, pulling in $130,000 a year. David works retail management in Winnipeg, making $48,000. Sarah just bought her second investment property. David moved back in with his parents at age 32 because rent became unaffordable. This isn't a hypothetical. This is the reality for millions of Canadians right now. Sarah isn't lucky and David isn't lazy. They're experiencing two fundamentally different economic systems that happen to share the same currency. Data point number 5. Regional economic performance is more divergent than at any point in 40 years. Alberta's economy grew by 4.7% in 2024, driven by energy sector recovery. Ontario's tech sector expanded by 6.3%. Meanwhile, Atlantic Canada's GDP growth was just 1.2%. Saskatchewan and Manitoba both posted under 2%. The gap between Canada's economic winners and losers by region is widening dramatically. If you're in the right province and the right sector, 2024 was a boom year. If you're not, you probably saw your standard of living decline despite working just as hard or harder than before. Here's what most economic reports won't tell you. This divide is creating entirely different financial futures for Canadians, based almost entirely on geography and industry rather than individual merit or effort. Someone in Toronto's financial district can job hop for 10 to 15% raises annually. Someone in a smaller city doing comparable work sees raises of 2 to 3%, barely keeping pace with inflation when it's actually keeping pace at all. Over a career, that compounds into multi-million-dollar differences in lifetime earnings, not because of skill differences, but because of location and sector. Before we get to the final data points, subscribe to Maple Money Data if you want weekly Canadian economic analysis that actually connects the dots instead of just repeating headlines. We publish new breakdowns every weekday. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next in this series. Data point 6. Inflation is hitting low-income Canadians 3 times harder than high-income households. When economists say inflation was 3.9% in 2024, that's an average. But averages hide the real story. Food prices rose by 7.2%. Rent increased by 6.8% in major cities. Gasoline jumped by 8.3%. These 3 categories make up over 60% of spending for households earning under $50,000. For households earning over $150,000, these same categories represent less than 30% of their budget, and they have flexibility to adjust. A high-income household can absorb an 8% gas increase by driving slightly less or switching to a more fuel-efficient vehicle they can afford. A low-income household relying on a 15-year-old car to get to work has no flexibility. They just pay more and cut food somewhere else. This is why the effective inflation rate for low-income Canadians is estimated at over 9%, while high-income households experience closer to 2.5%. Data point 7. The generational wealth gap is locking in these divisions for decades. Here's the final piece of this puzzle that makes everything else worse. 73% of first-time homebuyers in Toronto and Vancouver in 2024 received financial help from family, averaging $92,000. If your parents own property or have accumulated wealth, you have access to the housing market and the wealth building that comes with it. If your parents are renters or have no savings, you're essentially locked out. This isn't about individual effort anymore. It's about whether you were born into the right economic class. We're watching the creation of a hereditary wealth system in real time. The children of today's winners will be tomorrow's property owners and investors. The children of today's losers will be tomorrow's permanent renters, regardless of their education or work ethic. Let's bring this all together. We've covered 7 data points. The historic income divide, housing as the ultimate dividing line, geographically concentrated job creation, unequal cost of living impacts, regional economic divergence, differential inflation rates, and the generational wealth gap that locks it all in. Each of these individually is concerning. Together, they paint a picture of Canada fundamentally splitting into two economies, one that builds wealth and one that struggles for basic stability. This isn't just affecting people's bank accounts. It's reshaping communities, political dynamics, and the entire social fabric of the country. So what does this mean for you specifically? First, understand which side of the divide you're on and be realistic about what that means for your financial strategy. If you're in the high-income group, your focus should be on optimizing tax efficiency and building wealth through real estate and investments while these opportunities exist. If you're in the lower-income group, the hard truth is that traditional advice about saving your way to prosperity probably won't work in this environment. Your focus needs to be on income mobility, skills upgrading, sector switching, or potentially relocating to where opportunities actually exist. Neither path is fair, but understanding the landscape is the first step to navigating it successfully. Second, pay attention to policy changes at federal and provincial levels. This divide is becoming a major political issue, and the next 12 to 24 months will see significant policy responses. Whether that's changes to capital gains taxation, housing policy shifts, or regional development programs. These policies will directly impact your finances depending on which side of the divide you fall on. Third, diversify your income sources if possible. The data clearly shows that relying on a single income stream, especially in vulnerable sectors or regions, is increasingly risky. Whether that's through side businesses, investment income, or developing skills in multiple areas, reducing your dependence on any single economic sector provides a buffer against the volatility we're seeing. At Maple Money Data, we break down these economic trends every single week with data-driven analysis that goes beyond the headlines. We don't just tell you what's happening. We show you what it means for your money and what to do about it. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of Canada's economic shifts instead of being surprised by them. We publish new videos every weekday, Monday through Friday. Don't let this economic divide catch you off guard. Whether you're winning or losing in this split economy, understanding the forces at play gives you a chance to adapt your strategy and protect your financial future. See you in the next breakdown.